All Rogan does is ask stupid questions.
Okay, so let's talk about how this is a deeply disingenuous and dishonest representation of what Joe Rogan does and how he actively hurts people and the public discourse. Because asking dumb questions only works when you are doing it responsibly. When, for instance, you're asking those questions of an actual expert and not just platforming a bigot. Rogan, unfortunately, does far too much of the latter, which is why his brand of asking questions actually resembles jacking off. The act of asking leading questions to influence your audience, then hiding behind the defense that you're just asking questions. Just asking questions about, for instance, vaccine efficacy, and often asking them of people who have no business answering those questions in the first place. And this has real, measurable, material effects on people. First of all, because in platforming, say, an expert on the subject matter and a conspiracy theorist who has only a loose relationship to reality, he implies an equivalence between the two, and so makes disinformation appear as credible as information. And he launders the one while dirtying the other. He also seems to have very little understanding that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And that evidence exists in defense of vaccines and not so much in the arguments that oppose them. I realize I keep on going back to the example of vaccines here, but I mean, pick your poison. This applies to nearly every topic that he talks about. And as I said before, this also poisons the larger discourse. Because here we have a headline from the New York Times asking, "Do you really need sunscreen every day?" You're just asking questions, right? What makes it worse is that this headline is pure engagement bait. Firstly, because it leads you to believe that the answer might, and in fact, probably is no. Because whether you are conscious of it or not, you probably have an inkling of Betteridge's law of headlines, which reads that any headline that ends in a question mark can be answered by the word no. So we see this, and reflexively, we think, hey, maybe the answer is no. Let me assure you, the answer is yes. But as a piece of engagement bait, this absolutely worked, and there are thousands of comments across all of their platforms with people talking about how sunscreen is a hoax and just feeding the conspiracy machine. And while we don't only have Joe Rogan to thank for that, we can't undersell just what a terrible impact he's had on the media landscape. We should not be celebrating one of the biggest media personalities alive today for asking stupid questions. This is something that we applaud kids for doing. But we are talking here about a media leader. We deserve better.